Welcome to the breakthrough series of Radicle China. My name is Lin. I'm the China lead of Radicle. Radicle is an insights business that helps the world's leading companies like P&G, SBB, Diageo, Nestle, and others really make better and faster decisions in investing in the future. So today we invited Yuanjie Zhang, the co-founder of Conflux Network, a public chain and the only regulatory compliant permissionless blockchain. So Conflux is building a borderless transactional and technological ecosystem for globally minded crypto projects extended beyond China to North America, Russia, Latin America, Europe, Africa, and the rest of the world. The Conflux Network recently worked with McDonald's China and Oreo to release NFTs on their blockchain. Radicle China has also received interest from clients in various industries in how they can work with Chinese NFT platforms to engage with consumers. And today we are glad to have Yuanjie with us to speak about the NFT landscape and applications in China, how Conflux participates in it, and also how brands can work with Conflux. So welcome, Yuanjie. It's a pleasure to have you today.
Thanks for having me today. So my name is Yuanjie. I'm the co-founder from Conflux. So my background is mainly in finance, business operations, and the business development. So now I'm in charge of the ecosystem development for Conflux Network. It's an honor to have a conversation with the Radicle China. So let's begin.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's dive in. So for those who are not familiar with the Conflux Network, in a very simple way, how would you describe Conflux Network?
Conflux is a public network, or we call it a public chain, very similar to Ethereum. We can consider it as a public ledger where people can record and transact its digital assets on the public ledgers. And you have fungible tokens, which are very similar to, you can think of it as cryptos. People nowadays have crypto assets, but beyond crypto assets, people also have non-fungible tokens. Non-fungible tokens can represent a lot of things, arts, music, collections, right? So cryptos, NFTs, those are all digital assets where they are recorded and transacted on the public ledger, which is essentially a public chain. So you can think of Conflux is the equivalent of Ethereum, which is very popular in the world today. What Conflux has improved is what Ethereum has confronted today is its capacity. Ethereum only process 10 to 20 transactions per second. And also it costs 50 to $200 for each transaction. So that's insanely expensive. So Ethereum can only carry high value transactions, which prevent itself from mass adoption, where Conflux come into the place to solve such capacity problems. Okay, so that's what Conflux is and what we have delivered to this world.
As we all know, China has banned cryptocurrency and has been applying like strict policy around this area. So how does Conflux work and operate in this crypto-free environment? And also, as we know, Conflux is the only compliant platform in China. So what advantage does this give Conflux?
Okay, sure. So I would like to talk about these compliance in two aspects. So firstly, technology-wise, as everybody knows, if you have to use a public chain, you have to consume certain computing resources, which we call it gas. On Ethereum, if you want to use Ethereum, you have to have some Ether to consume as gas. And in order to have Ether, you have to buy such cryptos on the exchange, on a crypto exchange. And then you have to get ramp on using through your fiat. This is essentially banned in China or gradually get out from China, right? But this really prevents ordinary users to interact with the public chain. Conflux also offers a solution called sponsorship mechanism. So that means any third party can pay for the users instead of the user have to pay the gas itself. Right. I'll give you an example. When you use an application on the mobile phone, generally such mobile applications are deployed on a cloud computing server. Instead of the user have to pay the cloud computing service fee, the developers generally pay for it, right? And the users actually pay through membership, advertisement, or like game purchasement. So users don't have to pay the computing cost. So they don't have to purchase any cryptos before interacting with the public chain. And also in the very early time for the developers adopting Conflux public chain, the foundation, Conflux Foundation, reserve a bulk of tokens to pay for the developers. So even for the developers, they don't have to pay gas fee in the early days. They can request sponsorship from the foundation. And in the future, once such developers and their applications have been adopted by a lot of users and they started to make revenues, they can actually have commercial contracts with Conflux Foundation or any third party like service vendors to deal with the cryptos. So neither the developers, the application entrepreneurs, all the users have to deal with cryptos directly. They can deal with like the foundation or any third party vendors. So that means the merchants, the users, they all can operate in a crypto free environment. On the other aspect, Conflux team has actually built a very good relationship with the Chinese government, especially the Shanghai government, to put us and also its ecosystem applications in a sort of a sandbox environment where we are allowed to try out a lot of new things as long as we keep communicating with the government. So a lot of developers, users, and also enterprise clients are very happy with working with Conflux, given Conflux has a very positive image and reported in China. Conflux has been covered by People's Daily, Shanghai Wenhui newspaper. So we have a very positive image. So that's why a lot of app developers, enterprise clients, and users dare to use Conflux in China. So that's why I think Conflux has a very strong advantage in China, given its compliance status.
Mhm, mhm. And we all know there are a lot of big tech companies. They're trying to build their own blockchain or the chain under other names, such as Ant Chain, and also like and has built something very similar. So, in your recent collaborations with several brands, such as McDonald's China and Oreos, in addition to being compliant in China, what other advantages does that give Conflux, and what makes McDonald's and Oreo and other brands choose Conflux?
Sure. Okay, so I think there are three main points I'd like to illustrate here. So firstly, Conflux is actually an open public network. It's an infrastructure itself are not going after business purposes, profit making or like profit maximizing for its shareholders. It's not the purpose of Conflux. So actually the clients that have been deployed their NFT on Conflux is not served by Conflux directly. For example, McDonald's and Oreos are all served by a third-party technology company called Cold Coffee.
Mm.
So they serve their clients and they help their clients to deploy on Conflux. So they actually make the money. So we encourage ecosystem companies to find out its own business model and make money, and then like make it a successful entrepreneurship. So that's the first thing that we help people to make a living here, right? And also we allow people to be tech free. So we actually launched a platform called TPI, which is very similar to eBay or Taobao that allow people simply to get onboarded and sell their NFTs or digital collections on the TPI platform. Or even the TPI platform itself is open sourced, right? So that people who would like to build their own platform, let's say if McDonald's or Oreo or even Starbucks want to build their own platforms, they would be able to leverage on the open source code of TPI to build on their own platforms. So it's actually a very open and transparent infrastructure that we are offering to the world. We are not going after profits. Our target is actually going after the adoption of the Conflux network. The profit or the revenue is not our first target. So that's why we are very open and friendly to the ecosystem partners. Okay. So that means if we benefit other people, if other people can make money or actually attract their clients on our platform, we are very supportive. Okay.
Mhm.
So that,
So in you're like a enabler.
yes.
So Yeah. And for TPI platform, that's something that merchants or brands they can participate in, as well as just like individual consumers like myself can also participate to buy and also maybe like list if I'm an individual artist.
Yeah, exactly. Very open, like marketplace, merchants of enterprise or artist, individual artists, or like cartoon makers, right? Or even, like blind boxes companies, and they would like to have their digital blind boxes. They are all very welcome. They will have several sections, and some big enterprises will be verified. And also, even for individual artists who have a lot of followers on TikTok, on Weibo, on Kuaishou, they will be also verified through like social networking verification. And also, as long as you have followers, you have users, you have people who love your product or your service or your culture or your artwork, you will be able to monetize on such platforms. So that's the spirit, right? Be open and offering infrastructure to enable other people to make their dream come true here. So that's the first thing I think we are very different from the big internet companies, where their goal is actually to seek profit maximization. So the second point I'm going to talk about is the restriction on the technology front. So think about like for you to work with Tencent or Ant for working on their consortium chains. Basically, the functions, the features you can have for your NFTs are decided by these big enterprises.
Mhm.
If they say you're not transferable, you will not be transferred, right? If they say you're not tradable, you won't be able to trade with other counterparties. It simply restrict your functions. However, on the public chain, the developers for their clients or for themselves decide how they want their NFTs can be used. They can say, okay, this is non-transferable, or they can say this is transferable after a certain period of time, or they can say this is transferable only among whitelists. But this is all up to the developer themselves. It's not up to the Conflux network. They are able to define such feature or functions in the smart contracts. However, on Ant blockchain or Tencent blockchain, basically you're restricted. You have to listen to the blockchain, them such big companies, they're the head of their blockchain. And also they have a lot of burdens given they are large enterprises, right? So they're very afraid of if the blockchain business actually affect their business in other areas. So they are very cautious and conservative in such area. But that may not be a good thing for new startups, right? Where they want to fight for opportunities. So that's where I think you restrict the functions and the features for, a lot of new people. And thirdly, which also I think is very kind of a monopoly and Web2 thinking, is that most of such NFTs are only allowed to show within their own platforms. For example, for all the NFTs you purchased on Alipay, which is deployed on on-chain, you will only be able to see such pictures displayed within Alipay, not anywhere else. So this is no different from having a picture in Alipay, right? It's more like a skin of your QQ in early days.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, you got to create it in your Ali application, but when you
yeah,
switch another application, it's no longer there. And if it's not
yeah,
there,
because
there's
yeah,
right.
yeah, because the data is not accessible by other developers. Nobody will be able to serve your digital assets
Mhm,
except Ali or Ant blockchain allow it.
mhm, mhm,
Well, when you consider a picture as your digital assets, it's not just an asset, it's not just a picture, but an asset is actually you decided how to use it. As long as there are people who like to serve your NFT, you will be able to see it on multiple platforms. Either it offer the functions of deep display, trading, social, or even auctions, or even fractions. So, but it's all allowed by the public chain, and the people will come for services as long as there's a market, and the users will be able to decide where and how you want to interact with the blockchain and disposing their own NFT assets. So that's totally the difference between the Web 2 and Web 3, where I think that's where the two different directions you're taking a public chain and a consortium chain heading towards. It's two different paths. And gradually, the people who work with those big internet enterprises, we actually going into a very narrow directions. And the people will only see their pictures in a very, restricted scenarios. And if big enterprises actually failed or suffered pressure from the government, and your pictures may just be gone.
So that's kind of like the opposite of decentralized, which is you can only display something on your own platform. And also some of the features, such as like trading, transactions, even like fraction, auction, those kind of like features are not permitted on the end chain and also like Tencent chain and other.
But it's dictatorship, right?
Mhm. Like
By the comp-
on displays what
yeah,
features.
it's not up to you. It's up to them. And also the data are not accessible by other developers. So that means you can only serve by the people who sell you, right? If it's sold in Alipay and it's can only be served by the people from the Ali ecosystem, maybe not anybody else. So you will never see your NFTs if you bought it on Alipay, but you will never be able to see in WeChat, never be able to see it in Tencent's ecosystem. So that's called Web 2, right?
Mm.
Big giants against each other. That's not decentralized.
Yeah, I guess it also has something to do with they want to like protect their own traffic and don't want
Right.
their people to go away to like their big platforms. They don't want to be
That's
like
right.
channel to other big tech.
You're totally right. So if you are under the philosophy that you're protecting your traffic from going to other platforms, it's actually very monopolistic philosophy on my side, right? Because you think of traffic, you actually consider your clients, your users' data as your own assets. You're thinking of your clients' data as your company's private assets, but it's actually not. The data that we generated or we own on the internet should belong to the people who actually create it or who actually buy it. So that's where we talk about the spirit of Web3. Your data no longer belongs to the Web2 giants. It belongs to you and anybody who would like to serve you, and you will be able to choose their services.
Mm.
That's the spirit of Web3. And that's the open and public infrastructure that public chain can offer, not any the consortium chain from the giants.
So we've touched on some of the applications in the previous conversations, such as for creators, you can build a community. So what are some current NFT applications we're seeing in China, and what about other NFT applications in the future?
Sure. So I'd like to give you kind of several examples. And the big picture is like, okay, now people are all coming to the place are selling NFTs, right? To different kinds of people, to their followers, to their fans, and to people who love their stuff. I consider it as the big bang of we just past the big bang point of the metaverse. The NFTs actually will be the elementary particles of this world. So one example I'd like to share you is actually social networking. Thinking about today's social apps like WeChat, we use Facebook. You're basically getting to knowing people who you're acquainted with, but not the people who you're sharing hobby with. Maybe you can do it, maybe, okay, let's say Reddit, or maybe you're doing it on Douban in China. However, there is a lot of bots. There are a lot of fake people and fake accounts. And the more you get into it, you find out it's essentially these people are selling advertisements. You're never finding the people who are actually sharing the same hobby with you, but actually people who want to sell something to you. A lot of scams in such social apps. However, there is a new kind of social apps that actually will grouping the people based on the NFTs you own. Let's say, for example, you and other people have CryptoPunks. As everybody knows, it's very expensive today. But for people who ever own CryptoPunks, either they are early adopters of NFTs or they are super rich people who bought CryptoPunks in the secondary market. And let's say if I offer a trading room based on the people who have CryptoPunks. And only after you're verified through through the blockchain itself, and you're allowed to enter such chatting rooms, right? And then you will be able to exchange thoughts who share the same interest in CryptoPunk, or you're actually going after people who are rich, but you are actually targeting the right people. You're targeting the exact people you want. It's very hard to fake. Think about such NFTs when they are minted, they come with timestamps, with hash data. And each time they're transacted, you leave the traceability of such transactions. Okay, then maybe CryptoPunk is for the rich guys. Okay, let's say people who actually owns this McDonald's NFTs. I heard they actually award such McDonald's NFT to their very loyal and capable employees. So such employees can actually have a chatting room with each other. And also for people who bought Oreos, and they actually can enter into a chatting rooms where they all Oreo and share their maybe why they love Oreos and how different type of Oreo tastes. And even for the markets, for the Oreo company itself, if they own an Oreo, right, they would be able to enter such chatting room and they interact with their lovers.
Mm.
So this become a very good tool for marketing and also a community management tool.
Mhm.
So that's how kind of a social app, which is developed on the NFT tags that grouping people together, actually get rid of those faking accounts and bots, and actually grouping the people who share their true interest, or you have to pay for such tags to get together. So this
Yeah.
is called anti-Sabal on the internet.
Mm.
People always say you never know you are a true person or die, right? So
Yeah.
that's a good social app that can offer. Another example I would like to share you is actually people are developing kind of Twitter or Instagram or social web, but only based on Web3. So that means you have to log in using your crypto account or blockchain public chain account. Once you log in, you're able to using the NFT you have on your avatar, right? Think about like people who have an avatar of a CryptoPunk and it's verified or Bored Ape, or you can replace your avatar using a McDonald's or a Big Mac. That means, okay, you're a McDonald's lovers, right? And also you can show and post out the NFT you have, but only you have such NFTs you're allowed to post. So that actually come the new era of Web3 and the new era for serving NFTs. The NFTs only the elementary particles that actually, after this particle collide with each other, a lot of new business ideas will come out. Actually, I foresee a new future that all the Web2 services will be rebuilt on top of this NFTs and coming up with a new world of Web3, where users are the true owners of their data. That's the word I'm looking at. Okay.
Mm.
So like the social instant messenger or like Instagram social web is only the early stage. And even go in the future, once the people entering the cyberspace entirely, you will see such digital items around you only if you have such items, right? So that actually will become more real when you totally entering the cyberspace. So this is only the early days of the metaverse. We just passed the big bump point.
Mm. So in terms of the Web 2 and Web 3 differences, if I'm understanding correctly, so currently if you own like a crypto plant or any like digital asset and you want to show it as a status or label for yourself, the only way you can do it for like unverified platforms such as like Twitter and other like social platform, you can only take a screenshot of the crypto plant that you own and put it as your like profile picture. But in a Web 3 stage, only the owner or like people who have access to it can do that, right?
Do that or can allow to enter a certain chatting room, are only allowed to post it, or only allowed to use it as their avatar, right? So I've seen more internet companies, especially startups, they don't have the burdens to say, oh, I have to take care of my old business. They don't. And they will just come right in and serve the young people and enable their NFTs. So that's where I see the new era coming. The old days will pass. This is actually just the beginning of the blockchain and Web3. So so that's why I think, people who adopt such technology is just entering the future. And the early they come in, the early they will actually ride on this big wave.
Do you think now is a good time for, since you mentioned this is
Yep.
only the beginning right after the big bang, is now a good time for brands to implement an NFT strategy?
I think it's actually the very perfect timing for brands who actually do it. So I'd like to share you a true example that what Visa has done. So Visa has bought a CryptoPunk at around like 50 to 60 Ether. So at the time that's about like 200K US dollars, right?
Mm.
The whole world reported. People are kind of crazy. Wow, Visa bought a punk. All the people who owns punk reported. All the crypto people reported, right? And Visa just bought a punk and tweet on Twitter. 200K for Visa, such a big credit card company, probably nothing. But think about the advertisement effect it has on the crypto people and also around the whole world. That's the big thing that, help them attract the eyeballs of the young people, the
Mm.
exact audience they would like to have, the new users, right?
Mhm.
That's that's very smart of Visa. Think about like the two top auction house in the world, Sotheby
Mhm.
and Christie.
Mhm.
What they have done, they started to build cyber virtual exhibition hall in Decentraland, a
Yeah.
virtual world, right? And it doesn't cost much, but they got a lot of eyeballs and reports for free. And all the young people start to put their eyes on Sotheby in Christie. They start to get out from the old money and actually entering the new money and entering the young people space. So that's why I think they are very smart. And for all the companies who are not following suit, I would say, yeah, please open up your eye and pay attention. Think about like, okay, if you already hold your old customers, which gradually they're dying out, how you can actually grab your new users, the young people. The young people actually would like to be different, right?
Mm.
You need to have new technology, cool things, new concepts to attract them.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
then
And
that
yeah.
young people are actually spending more time and more time on cell phones. On their most of their time is actually on the internet. They don't care anymore about physical stuff. They actually care more about like virtual stuff. So that's why you should spend your marketing budget on the virtual stuff. So that's why I say, okay, it's
Yeah.
still a good time. It's early days. And as long as you do it, think about the Web3 entrepreneurship I'm talking about right just now. And they actually will build on top of you. And your users who actually own the NFTs will be among the first group of people who enjoy such services. Now, every time when their news income, and if you issue your NFT and get them to the hands of your lovers, and those will be the people who get served firstly.
Mm.
So that's actually benefits if you enter in the space early. So think about like CryptoPunk, right? They kind of a classic in the NFT space. So all the new things, all the new NFTs, all the like auctions, all the people who actually enter in the space will buy a CryptoPunk or auction punk or actually using CryptoPunk, their avatar to show respect to such classic. So the earlier you enter the space, the earlier you will be able to enter, more Web3 scenarios. And the earlier your people will actually enjoy those benefits.
And as we are doing more research on consumer preferences, especially the younger generations, these groups of people are buying more stuff that's correlated to the values of the brands that they're trying to convey. And NFT might serve as a good tool to unite those communities and also as a perfect channel to connect and talk to their audience.
Exactly. So actually, a lot of the like enterprises are putting more emphasis on the post sales services, and NFT is a very good tool to getting yourself and your users united and attached, and help you do the community management, and the people kind of are attached and pay attention. So this attention economy basically is how much time your users and customers spend energy or attention on your service products. So NFTs is actually kind of a attention, attention collector.
Mm.
Use it wisely.
So as we see, a lot of brands are looking to explore their FT strategies. So we talk about a lot about like the advantage of using those, but what are some challenges, especially in the early stage, that they should like these brands should consider?
Sure. So I think a lot of people kind of misunderstood NFT to some extent. Let's say some people think of, okay, this maybe just have to be attached to physical stuff. No, this should be created digitally, born on the internet originally, brand new things. So like for people who actually think about it as kind of the old ways should rethink about it. Like how can it help you to connect with the young people, right? That's one thing. The other thing is people think of it as kind of property protection. No, that doesn't help you to protect your IP rights. Actually, the wider it's spread, the more value it has. So it's actually kind of contradictory to the way people think of it traditionally. The third thing is actually, especially in China, where the government try to prevent speculation. The people who actually use this as a marketing tool should be fully aware that maybe some like kind of trading and exchange at a certain price or some certain appreciation is okay, but not doing it to, too big, exaggerated to like extent that people kind of trade it at very high prices. And if things are treated very high prices and the got eyeballs, and people may say, "Hey, this is money laundering," that actually bring bad image, backfires on the strategy. So you should be more used as a way of managing your community, managing your users, followers, and people kind of exchanging and share it. Due to they have the same hobbies or interests. Maybe some like send it as gifts or some exchanges, but not to the extent that kind of people like pump and dump it. That a lot of people got hurt during this kind of speculation process and cause a lot of social unease, and this eventually will backfire.
Can you tell me more about what's next on Conflux roadmap and what should we be looking out from Conflux in the next quarter or next year?
Sure. So in China, I would say because cryptos are mostly banned, but NFT is actually more or less encouraged, given it can help promote the cultural content and philosophy that it supports. So NFT actually will become a new wave, and also the Web3 built on top of them will become another wave of entrepreneurship, right? So that's where the complex ecosystem development will put the emphasis on in China. We will help consumer brands, luxury brands, popular brands to build their like NFT marketing strategies in China and help build a very large and live NFT market in China. It's either built through us or built through any third party vendors or the enterprise would like to build themselves. We can help them either way. We support all types of like ecosystem partnership. They are all very welcome. And after that, we will have a lot of Web3 startups and we will also support them. The social part, probably the marketplace part of the NFTs, or even, like some lending, borrowing part, and even, the kind of the displayed part, and also maybe the metaverse part, the virtual world part. So a lot of the Web3 things will actually emerge from this kind of NFT booming.
Mm.
And globally will help like people, especially in the emerging markets, given Conflux has improved its capacity about 100 times compared to Ethereum. We'll go to emerging markets like Africa and Latin America to help the people who actually don't have a lot of good financial services to build financial infrastructure for them, like the trading platforms, the lending borrowing platforms, and also help them to raise money for their local business, right? We actually have one of the ecosystem company called GIGX. GIG is actually the largest logistic company in Nigeria. They're actually building their wallet, their membership points, wallet Conflux. So we will help the people there, bring them onto the public chain technology, banked and unbanked, help them on the financial infrastructure part. And thirdly, which we will also do it globally, is the offshore RMB stablecoin insurance. We will help the internationalization of the RMB. So a lot of people actually transact with China and using like dollars, and then sometimes they may have problems dealing with dollars. And also going forward, maybe a lot of people are willing to accept RMB, and RMB stable coins issued on the public chain is actually having a faster and efficient, cheaper solutions and the banks. So our RMBs solution internationalization of RMB is another big part of Conflux goal globally. So that's probably the three things that Conflux is aiming at going forward.
That's great. Before we go, anything you would like to mention to the audience about Conflux that we didn't cover?
I think we covered most of the things. One thing I do want to emphasize is if you're interested having your brand expanding China, getting closer to your consumers and help them and serve them after post sales, please reach out to Radicle China and also Conflux. And we are here and happy to help you to build such strategies on your NFT and metaverse marketing. Okay. And we are always here for you. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Yuanjie, for taking the time to having this conversation with me today. It's been a good span of time and a very insightful conversation. Well, thank you again.
Yep. Thanks for having me. Thanks. And we look forward to working together to serving our clients.
Sounds good. Thank you.
And good.